Hi, it's Simon Gray from Career Codex, and I'm delighted to be at Excel London for the Accountex conference. I am a qualified accountant, so many of my clients are CFOs or finance directors, and I'll be speaking today in the FD Forum on LinkedIn for finance professionals, what you need to know and why it matters. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the FD Forum this afternoon. This is the lunchtime slot, I'm reliably told. For the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking about LinkedIn for finance professionals, what you need to know and why it matters. And I'm going to talk for about 35 minutes or so, then I'm going to allow for about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for your questions. So if you do have questions, please keep them in the back pocket. Any questions on LinkedIn, absolutely fine. Please ask me those at the end. So whether you're looking to win more business or you're looking to advance your career, LinkedIn is no longer an option. It's an absolute must. But many people are not yet on the platform or are failing to use it proactively, which is what we're going to talk about today. And in the competitive world of business development or career advancements, getting familiar with LinkedIn could mean more profit or better remuneration. So thought we'd do a little bit of a straw poll. This is the audience participation piece. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. The first question I'm going to ask you is, if you currently have a profile on LinkedIn, please raise your hand. Very good. Okay, now keep the hands raised. Keep the hands raised. Okay, keep your hand raised now if you are using LinkedIn, this is the magic word, proactively, to either develop business or advance your career. Okay, I suspected that might be the case. Well, the good news is you're in the right place, because that's what we're talking about today. Bit of an introduction. I always think it's important to introduce yourself so you know who I am and what my background is and why I'm here to talk about this particular topic. I've been using LinkedIn probably for the last 10, 12 years, and I've been using it extensively, which means pretty much each and every day. I'm not a LinkedIn employee. I've never been a LinkedIn employee. They're not paying me to be here today. I get no benefit, financial or otherwise. But the reason I'm here to talk about LinkedIn is because it is such a powerful tool for business development or advancing your career. And what I'm going to share with you today is all based on practical experience. What that means is I've taught myself how to use LinkedIn, and I've found out through trial and error what actually works in practice on the platform. Quick bit of background, I trained as an accountant, so I'm a qualified accountant. I trained with KPMG, qualified back in 2000, and then for the next 10 years of my life, I spent those in the recruitment sector. So first as a consultant working for a business, and then in 2008, just as the financial crisis hit, I started my own recruitment company. As they say, timing is everything. But one of the reasons that business was successful, and is still going today, is because we got off to a flying start because of the power of LinkedIn. I became slightly frustrated with recruitment, and in 2013, I left my own business, the business I'd started, to set up another business called Career Codex. And I now work with senior executive clients from across the world to help them navigate the executive job market successfully. And I do this using a system that I developed from my time in recruitment that I also outline as an overview in my book, which you can find on Amazon, Super Secrets of Successful Executive Job Search. I'm no longer a practicing accountant, but I am still heavily involved with ICAW, who are exhibiting across the way. And I spoke at their FC and CFO conference recently. I also, with ICAW, recorded a series of podcasts which you might want to check out. You can find them on SoundCloud or iTunes, and it's called the ICAEW Guide to Successful Job Search. 10 episodes outlining the system that I talk about in the book with some guests, recruitment guests, and some people from industry, talking about what it really means to stand out and get hired in the job market. And of course, you've got my LinkedIn URL at the bottom there. Some of you I'm probably connected with already. I've met a couple of people I know already, but here's an open invitation as we are talking about LinkedIn. So please connect with me on LinkedIn after the presentation and send me a quick message and let me know if I was any good or not. And feedback is everything. I won't take it personally, so it'd be good to connect with you. So LinkedIn, first thing to say on LinkedIn is somewhat of a double-edged sword. And by that I mean with over 500 million people on the platform, that's 500 million people and counting, it has the power to give you unparalleled access pretty much to anyone you want to get in front of, if you know what you're doing. But by the same token, with so many people on the platform, and as it continues to grow, it makes standing out much more difficult, and it's going to make standing out and being found increasingly more difficult. And what this means is you can't just jump on the platform and create a profile and hope it's going to work for you or your business. You have to focus. You have to focus on what it is you want. And that basically means who you're trying to connect with and with what message. Now, LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft fairly recently, and I think we can expect to see LinkedIn's importance increase drastically over the next few years. I talked to quite a few people over in the States who are LinkedIn experts. What they're telling me is we can expect to see LinkedIn becoming a household thing that we use with existing systems and products that we use currently with Microsoft. So there's never been a better time to be in this auditorium today to find out a little bit more about LinkedIn, because whether you're going to use it personally or professionally, it's absolutely something you need to be leveraging to advance your business or advance your career. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question. Has anyone been on Google recently and typed in their name and perhaps location, if your name is not too unusual, and seen what popped up? Put your hands up if you've done that any time recently. Okay, good. Well, if you haven't done it any time recently, I would encourage you to go home later on, pull up a search engine, type in your name and location, and see what pops up. And see what pops up on page 1. Because something may pop up, which will tell you something, or nothing may pop up, which will tell you something as well. And what may pop up might not actually be what you expect. And there could be a message on Google that you don't necessarily want out there, you don't necessarily expect out there. I need to ask yourself the question, well, is this communicating my personal brand? Is this communicating what I want to communicate? If it isn't, you have the power to change that. And one of the ways to do that is LinkedIn. And LinkedIn really is about two things, and these are the two things I'm going to talk about in today's presentation. It's really about personal branding, and it's about thought leadership. Okay, it's about personal branding, and it's about thought leadership. And you're in control of both of those things. You're in control of your personal brand, and you're in control of your thought leadership piece, what it is you know about and how you communicate that. And LinkedIn is a great place to do that, to communicate who you are, what it is you do, and most importantly, what you stand for. And it's really important because more and more people nowadays are spending an increasing amount of time online researching, okay, before ever making a decision to do business with you or your organization, or making a decision perhaps to hire you. And this is particularly important, I think, in the service sector. Now, the service sector space, it's all about personal relationships. You're not buying a product, you're buying a person. And researching somebody online is something that I personally do all the time before I engage somebody on a service level type arrangement. And if you think about services, business services, they tend to be high value transactions. And there's even more research done when it's service sector and it's a high value transaction when you're hiring somebody in person. And LinkedIn is a website in its own right, and I think sometimes people forget that. And if you do a search on Google for pretty much anything, if it's got an individual's name involved, what you'll find is that on page 1 of Google, LinkedIn tends to pop up as one of the top 2 or 3 things. So what that means is if somebody's met you at an event like today, and they go away and they search on Google because they're thinking of hiring you, you've got a pretty good chance to increase your visibility and to be visible on page 1 if you have a LinkedIn profile. If you don't, and you don't have a website, well, it's pretty much left to chance. So personal brand, what is a personal brand? Well, a personal brand is what other people say about you, generally when you're not in the room. Okay, my personal brand is what you say about me to other people you might meet later on today when I've stopped speaking. Okay, that's my personal brand. And your personal brand is the same. And if you're not taking control of your message to the world, then there's a really good chance that that narrative is left to chance or is not the narrative that you want. Thought leadership, which I'm also talking about today, is communicating a message as an expert. So quick straw poll again. Hands up if you believe you are an expert. Wow. I would challenge you that you are all experts. You maybe just haven't defined yet what you're an expert in. Okay, but thought leadership, this is an important part of the presentation. Thought leadership is about communicating yourself and communicating a message that establishes your authority as an expert in your particular field. Now, before I started my business career Codex, I was probably in the belief that someone would come and tell me when I was an expert. You know, someone would tap me on the shoulder and say, Simon, you're now an expert. You can go out and talk to the world about what it is you know. But here's the big thing. That never happens. If you want to be an expert and to position yourself as an expert, all you've got to do is decide. And decide what you're an expert in. Go out to the market, find your market, and communicate a message which resonates. So LinkedIn is a tool to build your personal brand and to position yourself as a thought leader. But to do this effectively, you have to decide on, know, and understand two major things. And these two major things can be quite difficult to decide on, but it's important you make a decision. The first thing you need to think about and decide on is who is your audience? Who are you talking to? Who are you trying to talk to? You know, and write it down and be very, very specific about it. So if you're building a business, do you have a detailed understanding of your target client, their problems, their aspirations, who they are, where they're based, and, because we're talking about online stuff, when they're active online? These are all important things to think about. And if you're active in the job market, are you really clear on the type of organization and position you want, organization you want to work for, and what your value proposition is to get the attention of target organizations, of target decision makers? Secondly, your message. So once you've got your audience, you've got to give them a message. Your message, it goes without saying, needs to be clear, concise, and resonate with your target audience to gain their attention. And building a personal brand is about being you, nobody else. Everybody else is taken, so you can only be you. Okay, it's not about blending in. What it is about is yelling out your personal uniqueness. Yeah, it's about being you and yelling out uniqueness. So LinkedIn principally, in my opinion, is a marketing tool for you, your business, and all you have to offer. But in recent years, the marketing game has changed. Anyone in the marketing business here? Hands up. Anyone in marketing as a profession? Okay. Well, marketing is important on LinkedIn. Marketing used to be, and to some extent still is today, depending on who's doing the marketing, it was about a sales message to as wide an audience as possible. In the belief, if I'm selling something and I communicate to this as many people as possible, I've got a better chance of selling it. And think about TV advertising. Okay, TV advertising. This essentially is a general message to a general audience. Yes, there's some positioning in terms of the channel or the time of day. You know, there's a certain demographic who watches Coronation Street, and that advertising space will target a certain type of demographic. But at the end of the day, it's a very broad brush approach and can be quite expensive. And what's more, let me ask you this question. Does anyone take notice of adverts on TV anymore? Hands up if you do. Okay. Maybe gentlemen at the back slightly. Okay. So it's a bit hit and miss, you know. It's certainly not where I'd be wanting to put my money nowadays to advertise, and it's far too expensive. And I tend to go and make a drink, or we've all got this pause recording stuff now, so you can pause, go make the drink, come back, fast forward, and on your way. You've obliterated the adverts. So traditional kind of marketing doesn't tend to work anymore. And this really is outbound marketing at its best, but in reality, marketing at its worst. So the traditional type of advertising is something called outbound marketing. But with more and more sales messages bombarding us each and every day, you know, as human beings, we have to protect ourselves, don't we? We've filtered out all this noise. We've all got mobile devices, there's adverts on Facebook, there's adverts everywhere. You walk past a coffee shop these days, you get a ping on your phone to invite you to come in. We've all got this advertising around us, and to protect ourselves, what we've had to do is to switch off, because we don't like being sold to. Anyone like being sold to in the room today? Nobody. So why do people still continue to sell? It just doesn't work. As consumers, we use the internet now to research our purchases well in advance, and we're informed consumers. That means we know what we want, we know where we can get it, and what's more and more important from everyone in this room is we have a choice as to where to get it. And you want to be the choice, either for a new job or for your business to win a new contract, a new piece of business. And what we ultimately decide we're going to do, and the organizations we decide we're going to work work with or we're going to approach or buy their products or services, we tend to pick those organizations that have not just sold to us, but have tried to build a relationship with us along the way. Okay, and if you look at some of the big brands out there nowadays, what they're doing is they're not selling, what they're doing is they're building a relationship. Yeah, they're trying to solve some of our problems, or they're trying to help us aspire to a particular solution or a particular level in life. But what they have done, they've not communicated in logic, facts and figures and whatnot. What they have generally done is communicated with us on an emotional level. And an emotional level is really important nowadays if you're to win business and be successful in business or indeed in your career. And this really is inbound marketing. So I talked about traditional marketing, outbound marketing. What I'm talking about now is inbound marketing. And what inbound marketing is being in a position where you've created content where you attract customers when they're ready to buy. Not when you're ready to sell, but when they're ready to buy. And that is a massive, massive difference. And think about your last purchase, your last major purchase, and think about this question. Were you influenced in that purchase decision by an outbound marketing message or an inbound marketing message? Did somebody sell to you, or did somebody help, educate, or inspire you? And I would probably take a guess that the majority of people thinking about it, I'm not going to ask you the question, were probably influenced by somebody doing the latter. So building a personal brand on LinkedIn really is all about inbound marketing. It's not about selling your product or service. It's not about selling your skills. What it is about is a lesson in inbound marketing. And LinkedIn is much more than having an optimized profile, what I call an attractive shop window. LinkedIn is a platform to be used proactively, to be used as what I call a proactive engagement tool. And this really means, boiling it down, it really means being helpful, interesting, and engaging, and being prepared to do this consistently, and being committed to do this consistently, even if you don't see the results on day one. So while many have a profile, very few, and I think it's probably fair to say that was the straw poll at the start, very few people are using their LinkedIn profile proactively. Okay, they fail to communicate their personal brand or position themselves as a thought leader. And while having an attractive shop window is important, it's a little bit like driving a Ferrari in first gear. Okay, you're not going to get anywhere very fast unless you use the platform as a proactive engagement tool. And there are quick 3 ways that some of you may have experimented with, maybe thinking about doing, that you can climb up the gears on LinkedIn to make your LinkedIn profile work harder for you, for your business, or for your career. And firstly, updates. Who posts updates on LinkedIn? Hands up, anyone. Anyone posted an update today while they've been here? Okay, good, a few. Okay, so updates. They're a great way to keep in touch with your first-tier connections and to communicate a consistent message. So have a think about what are the hot topics in your niche. Okay, what are the questions that your target clients or your target organization is looking to answer if you're looking to advance your career? What are the questions that they have? And what knowledge do you have that you could perhaps share through your status updates on LinkedIn? This is the top of your profile where it invites you to share a photo, share a piece of content. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about status updates. A really quick way to do this is through something called curated content. So if you browse the internet generally, you find an article that you think, wow, that's interesting to me. Well, probably, if you've got the right kind of connections, it may be interesting to your connections. And sharing that content in the form of a URL, but adding your opinion or your thoughts or a quick summary is a really quick and easy way to share valuable content, which means people are going to come back to your profile because they know you're a creator or a curator here of valuable information that they may want to look at. What's more, liking, commenting, and sharing. Does anyone do that? Liking, commenting, and sharing on people's profiles? Good. Okay, great way to get the attention of a decision maker. If somebody likes one of my posts, I get a little notification on LinkedIn that says somebody's liked my post. What's the first thing I do? I take a look at their profile. They've got my attention. If somebody shares my post and quotes my name, they very much get my attention. And they're immediately on my radar. So it's a great way to get attention with your target decision makers. Okay, second, articles or published posts. Who's written an article on LinkedIn? Hands up. Okay, you've all got a great opportunity with articles. So articles are LinkedIn's blog posting platform. And there's a really good clue on LinkedIn that you probably should be writing articles. Because below the banner, below the photo, below the professional headline, you have a place for articles, your activity. And I look at so many LinkedIn profiles, and people just aren't writing articles. This is your thought leadership piece. And when you write an article, thinking about the questions your target decision makers, target clients may have, when you write an article and you post it, your first tier connections can find that in their feed. So the more connections that you have, the more people are going to see it. And if your content, if your article is on point and resonates with your first tier connections, and they share it, that will go to their second tier connections. And there's a probability that their second tier connections will also find your content. So by creating something of value that's not about selling, it's about helping and educating, it can help your message to go viral. And let me give you a quick example. I put a lot of posts on LinkedIn, so if we're not connected, connect to me and you'll see. And I communicate posts that answer the questions of my target clients, the people I'm trying to reach. A little while back, I did a particular post on LinkedIn, LinkedIn for executive job search. And this post went viral. Cost me nothing to write, just a little bit of time. I posted it on LinkedIn, and literally it went round the world. How do I know it went round the world? Because at the end of my post, I said, please connect to me on LinkedIn if you've liked this post. And I literally saw connection requests coming from the UK. We went across to Europe. We went round to America. We went down to Australia, and we came back. Also to Southeast Asia. I literally saw that happen. And you can do that as well. The more focused your message, the more targeted your message, there is a probability that that could happen to you. And it's a great and a free way to communicate your expertise and your knowledge. And you can also position your articles in another way in front of your target audience on LinkedIn. And this is LinkedIn groups. Anyone using LinkedIn groups at all? Hands up. Okay, LinkedIn groups. So when you write an article, you have the URL at the top. You can take that URL and you can share it in specific groups. And for me, on LinkedIn, groups are where the real power lies, because groups are a collection of individuals with a common interest, a profession or cause, or perhaps geography. And if you think about LinkedIn as an ocean full of 500 million plus and counting people, then groups are like little ponds in that ocean where you can find the fish you're looking for. So there's a higher probability of reaching the person you want if you're in the right groups. And what's more, being a member of a group, LinkedIn gives you a special type of connection. So you're probably aware on LinkedIn there's first, second, third tier connections and then outside your network. But on LinkedIn, if you're in a member of a group, so you join a group with 1,000 people, let's say, and you're in that group, you're accepted into that group, immediately you have 1,000 group connections. What does that mean? Well, that means people can see you're in that group and you can message people in that group without being directly connected to them. And if you do want to connect to them, well, great, you've got a reason to do it. You know, you're in the same group, you've got a common interest. So it works, you know, on many different levels why groups are so important. And I run a number of groups on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is making changes at the moment since the Microsoft acquisition. So I think groups are going to become more and more important. Anyone in Facebook groups here? A few more people? I think we can see LinkedIn becoming more active with groups because they recognize that it's about communities. It's about people with a collective interest. And the groups you pick, they could be a peer group where you want to share best practice or get some advice, or it could be a collection of your target clients, okay, your target audience. And in positioning your articles, your expertise in there, you have a probability of getting on their radar. And I used to be a recruiter for 10 years. What I would do, I would be very, very active in groups. Because if I needed to find a particular candidate for a particular job, well, LinkedIn was the best database for me. Forget my database, it was out of date. LinkedIn was the best database first off. And rather than just communicating out generally to the population on LinkedIn, I would go to LinkedIn groups and I would ask, does anyone in this group have this type of experience? And what I would often find is people in those groups would come back to me and recommend names. I would then connect with those individuals, I would start a conversation, and I filled many a job doing just that. So being in groups and being active in groups for business or career advancement is very, very important indeed. Okay. So I think nowadays, you might disagree with me, but I think nowadays we live in a world of instant gratification. Okay? Does anyone want to wait for anything anymore? No, I had to wait 2 minutes for the train coming here. I was not very happy at all. Okay, nobody wants to wait. We all want fast results. Look at the fast food industry. Why has that grown so fast? Because nobody wants to wait. Yeah, we all want things faster, faster, faster. Now, in the job market, and if you've been in the job market, you may have had the expectation that, okay, here's my CV, hire me. And by the way, do that right now, please. Okay, you may have had that expectation. Many people do. If you're in business, it can be a similar story. You know, here's my proposal. Have you read it yet? Why not? Okay, well, hire me. And by the way, can you do that right now? But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And when things don't happen in the timescales we expect, what happens? We become angry, frustrated, we lose confidence, we stop taking the action that we probably should be taking. So building a personal brand and establishing yourself as a thought leader, you have to recognize takes time. And it takes time to see the fruits of your labor. But when those fruits do arrive, and I've got many cases, I'm going to share one with you at the end, when those fruits do arrive, there's a high probability that you'll convert them, and there's a high probability that no one else has even seen that opportunity. Because what we're talking about here is inbound marketing. You've attracted somebody to you who's got a particular need for your product, service, or whatever else it is that you do. So instead of see me, hire me, what I recommend as a strategy is see me, like me, trust me, hire me. See me, like me, trust me, hire me. And I'm going to talk about each of those components now and relate those to LinkedIn. So, see me. This really means having a LinkedIn profile in the first place, and then optimizing your LinkedIn profile for your target audience. And from LinkedIn's own words, from its own documentation, what LinkedIn says is, if they give you an opportunity to do something, then do it. Because then you have what's called a complete profile, and they're more likely to put you at the top of the search results if somebody's searching for you and your skills. Okay, so if there's an opportunity to do something on LinkedIn, absolutely do it. Okay, so don't leave that banner at the top empty. Make sure you've got something there all the way down your profile. One of the opportunities I see people miss in terms of their visibility on LinkedIn is adding media items. Anyone got media items on their LinkedIn profile, on their summary? Any of their experience? Have a look at my LinkedIn profile. There's videos on there, there's documentation on there, there's content on there, because it's stuff that people want to click on. We like clicking on images. This is being recorded today. That will be at the top of my LinkedIn profile because I know people will click on it. And remember, LinkedIn is a website. I've mentioned this already. And that means key words are important. These are the words people will type into a search engine to find you. Okay, to find somebody with your skills, experience, and expertise. Your headline, your summary, which now really is an extended headline, and your skills and endorsements are key in terms of your visibility. Anyone use their skills and endorsements? Anyone actively thought about what their skills and endorsements should be? Okay, well, skills and endorsements, you have an opportunity to pick skills to be displayed on your LinkedIn profile that when people land on your profile, that you want them to endorse you for. And one of the reasons this is so important is if I'm looking at your link, we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'm looking at your profile potentially to do business. And I look down at your skills and endorsements. What I'm going to see is two things. LinkedIn, and this is a recent change, LinkedIn is going to show me people that I know, that I'm connected with, that have endorsed you. It's also going to show me people that are highly skilled in the skill that you're claiming if they've endorsed you. Now, both of those things give me a lot of comfort about who you are and what it is you do. So do have a think about your skills and endorsements. And decide who you're trying to reach and what skills you would like to be endorsed for. So next we're on to like me. We all like to be liked, don't we? I'm hoping you all like me today, but you can tell me on LinkedIn later. And this really is the curated content that I talked about. Okay, this is the content that you take and you have an opinion on. This is your status updates. And it's also about the content that you create. So curated, you've taken it and you've shared it. Created content, this is your articles, the stuff I talked about a little while ago. And you have to remember that one of the reasons people can be scared of communicating a status update on LinkedIn or writing an article and putting it out there, and some of my executive clients, they really struggle with this first off, is because they're worried about what people might think. Yeah, they're worried about what people might say, what people might think. But what you have to remember is that not everybody is going to resonate with your personal brand. It's not going to resonate with everybody. And not everyone is going to like your thought leadership stance. But that's the good news. That's the whole point. Because if you know your audience and you know what matters to your audience, you're going to attract the right people and you're going to repel the wrong people. Okay, so good marketing, you talk to a marketer, good marketing is about polarization. You don't want to do business with everybody. You want to do business with the people that you can help and that you attract to you. So you have to stand for something on LinkedIn, otherwise you stand for nothing. Now, in terms of my positioning in the marketplace, through my business career Codex, there are lots of people out there talking about how to write a CV, how to put a resume together. And my positioning is very different. And I actively decided on this position to say, actually, do you know what? The CV and resume is not that important. And I get quite a lot of flack on LinkedIn from people, generally CV writers, who say, you don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't make sense. But that's good. I'm trying to repel these people. But the people I'm trying to attract are the people that have put their CV or resume out into the marketplace. They've not found the job they want. It's taking far too long. And they're attracted by my message, which I've specifically crafted, because it's very different. And it's speaking into their problem. They can't find a job, and speaking into their aspiration of wanting their dream job. Trust me's in green. Very, very important indeed. Okay, it's probably the most important thing on this particular slide. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. In fact, let me ask you the question. Does anyone do business with people they don't trust? We usually find that out afterwards, don't we? Yeah, okay. So I think we can all agree. We like to do business with people we trust. Okay, we don't tend to do business with people we don't know, we don't trust. And trust really is the magic key on LinkedIn to advance your business or to find your next job. Because the probability of anything happening, if you don't have trust and you don't tick the trust box, is very, very limited indeed. And would you agree that we're probably at an all-time low in this country, probably in the world, in terms of trust? You know, I don't think anybody really trusts anybody anymore unless we've known somebody for some time. So it's a really great opportunity using LinkedIn, see me, like me, trust me, to start to bring some trust back. And social proof really is the key to this. And social proof is not what you say about yourself, it's what other people say about you. Okay, so it's kind of linked to personal branding. So if I stood here and said something about me, you may or may not believe it. But if somebody in the audience stood up and said, oh, I've worked with Simon before, he's a good guy, he really helped me, you're probably more likely to believe it. And that's social proof in action. And what this means on LinkedIn is recommendations that people have to write. You know, you can't fake this. People either write them for you or they don't. Contacts in common. Yeah, people that I know, you know, that we're mutually connected to. Because I want to do business with people that know people that I know. Because they're probably a good person because they know the people that I know. And endorsements, which I've talked about already. So think about those things. If you don't have recommendations, I would ask for them. Proactively ask for recommendations. These can be peer recommendations, or they can be recommendations from people you've worked with previously. Clients, they can be client recommendations. And the best way to ask for recommendations is to pick up the phone. Don't just send that recommendation request. People won't know what really you want to be recommended for. They won't necessarily do it when you want them to do it. If you phone them up and say, look, I'm working on my LinkedIn profile, I could really do with some recommendations. I've picked you as one of 5 or 6 people. It'd be great if you could do that. They're more likely to do it because they're going to see the importance of it. But do get recommendations. Social proof is so, so important. And then finally, hire me. This is the good bit, isn't it? This is the bit we all want to fast track to. Yeah, whether it's a job or whether it's a business transaction, we want to get hired. And to make sure it's easy to get hired, once you've gone through these see me, like me, trust me levels, you've got to make sure that your contact information is easily accessible. Now, LinkedIn has a contact info box. They've just changed this. You click on it, it pops up. My recommendation to you is to also include your contact information in your summary. Okay, so that means your phone and your email address. And put an inviting message that says, I'm really happy to be contacted about this, this, or this. So people know that they can contact you. They know you're open to being contacted. LinkedIn used to have a thing in its platform that you would have to say what you wanted to be contacted for. That's gone now, but you can still do that, and you can do that in your summary section. Responsiveness is important too. Talked about instant gratification. We don't want to wait, do we? Okay, so when somebody contacts you on LinkedIn, they expect an immediate response. Email, probably give it 24 hours. LinkedIn, 5 minutes, I'm expecting a response. Anyone seen Active Now? Anyone seen the Active Now icon on LinkedIn? That little green dot, anyone seen that? So when you go into the messaging platform on LinkedIn, you know if the person you're messaging is on LinkedIn. And it will even tell you if they're on a desktop or a mobile device. How good is that? So if I message somebody on LinkedIn and they're active now and they don't respond, I'm not very happy. Okay, so responsiveness is key. Okay, and we all expect responsiveness. And if somebody's contacting you about business, what they're probably doing is they're probably contacting you first because you've attracted them with your inbound marketing content. But if you don't get back to them quickly, they might just go on to your competitor. Same in the job market. They've contacted you as a candidate because you've attracted them with your inbound marketing strategy. But if you don't respond quickly, they might just go on to the next candidate. So responsiveness is important. Now, we talked a lot about LinkedIn today. We talked about online presentation, online profiling, positioning yourself online. But LinkedIn is only the starting point. Okay, we have to get face-to-face, and it's important to remember that. So LinkedIn is just the starter of a conversation. And in business, you know, you have to get face-to-face. You've got to hear the pitch. Yeah? You want to look into the eyes of the person you're going to hire. In the job market, it's the same. You know, there are interviews. There is an interview process to go through. So think of LinkedIn as really, really important in terms of your personal brand and thought leadership, but think of it as a segue into that face-to-face conversation. And the quicker you can take that off LinkedIn, then so much the better. Okay, so you may have noticed, all of you will have come today of an expectation for this talk. Some of you may have expected me to pull up the LinkedIn profile and show you how to add this and do that. Not really the forum for that today. Not really, you know, how do you do this, how do you do that? If you want that kind of information, if you go to my website, careercodex.com, and go to my YouTube channel, I have quite a few instructional videos on there for you. But what I tried to focus on today, and what I wanted to get across today, was some of the key principles in using LinkedIn. So some of the foundations. You know, if a house is built on poor foundations, it's going to fall down. If your LinkedIn profile is built on poor foundations, it's probably not going to work that well for you. So what I thought I'd do now, talked about see me, like me, trust me, hire me, talked about quite a few other bits and pieces. What I thought I'd do now is to pull everything together with a real life example. And you know, I've worked quite extensively on LinkedIn for quite a long time now, and I've made a conscious decision as to who my target audience is and who my target audience isn't. And I get ideas from my regular content, so the articles and the curated stuff that I share, and I get that by asking people that connect with me. Or I get it from my clients. I say to them, what's important? What questions do you have? What problems do you have? Where are you trying to get to? And then I create this content that speaks into those problems or aspirations. I've worked really hard to do this over a period of time. And as I said earlier, you know, it's not about instantaneous results. This is about a lifestyle of using LinkedIn each and every day. And the power of doing this, the power of personal branding and thought leadership, really hit home to me a little while ago when I secured a new executive career coaching client from the USA. And Jeff was his name, he'd searched for me online. He'd got a challenge in the job market, he'd been on the job boards, been to the recruiters, hadn't quite found the position he wanted, and he was struggling to know what to do. And he was attracted by my message which said, it's not about the CV, it's not about the resume. So it led him to my LinkedIn profile. He read a few of my articles, which further reinforced my message, helped him to think differently about his situation. And then he started to watch some of my videos. You'll find videos on my LinkedIn feed as well. Video is something that's going to become increasingly important, and LinkedIn now allows you to upload videos directly to your status updates. So he watched a couple of the videos, and this led him to my book. Read the book, and having read the book, he reached out to me directly on LinkedIn. Sent me a connection request with a message, and asked if we could have a conversation. He enrolled in my Executive Edge program, and I showed him how to build a personal brand and to establish himself as a thought leader so he could go off and find the position that he was looking for. Now, what's really interesting is that once we'd got to know each other a little better, I asked him one day, and I said to him, Jeff, I said, when you were thinking about hiring me, were you considering anybody else? And he looked at me puzzled and he said, no, I wasn't. And I said, that's exactly how I planned it. Okay, and he looked quite surprised. But that's exactly how I planned it. I'd attracted him by the content, he'd engaged with my message. What I'd done effectively is build a relationship with him. Yeah, he'd seen me, he'd liked me, he'd started to trust me. So when it came to hiring somebody to help him with his challenge, there was only one solution. And what that means is, you don't have to worry about price competition. They want to hire you. You built that relationship. It's about the quality message that you deliver. And the best thing about this, I never knew of his existence until he sent me that connection request. Okay, so I said earlier, it's not about doing business when you're ready to sell. It's about doing business when somebody is ready to buy. And if you adopt this kind of strategy, personal branding, thought leadership, you have a great opportunity through LinkedIn to do exactly that. So that was see me, like me, trust me, hire me, well and truly in action. Does anyone have a website in the room? Yeah, hands up if you have a website. Okay. Keep your hand up if you spend money trying to drive people to your website. Okay, I do a little bit. Okay, it's good to have a website. I'm going to look at your website before I do business with you. But people are still spending a lot of time, energy, and effort on things like SEO, yeah, keywords and all of this stuff, paid advertising to drive people to their websites. But all the eyeballs are on LinkedIn. Yeah, everyone else is competing for the same space to drive people to their websites. So if you try and change and put some more of your effort into LinkedIn, that's where the eyeballs are. And if you turn up with a solution and the aspiration to inspire people, you'll find you'll get a lot more business from there. I get most of my business now through LinkedIn and very, very little through my website. Okay, so just wanted to thank you for attending my presentation today. Don't go yet because we're not quite finished. I mentioned the importance of a LinkedIn headline earlier, and this is one of the questions I get asked a lot. So what I've done, I've created a link it's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/cc accountex. It is case sensitive. If you put that into Google or a search engine, you'll find an article, how to write a LinkedIn headline. And what I do in that article, I talk about the 3 key ingredients of a LinkedIn headline, which is work, wow, and wonder. Work, wow, and wonder. The article's written more for the position of somebody looking for a job, but if you're looking to create a headline to attract business, it's the same message pretty much. Okay. I've got some business cards here. If anyone would like to take a business card so they can contact me afterwards, please do so. My email address is on the screen. And if you'd like a transcript, I know some people have been taking notes. If you would like a transcript of exactly what I've spoken about today, if you send me an email after the presentation, I'll send that across to you directly via email. And I've purposefully, hopefully, yes, I've left 5, 6, 7 minutes of time. So if anyone has any questions at all, I'll gladly take those questions now. If you want to raise your hand, if you've got a question, if you prefer to come and talk to me at the end, that's fine. We'll deal with the questions there. But does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask in the open forum? Yes.
LinkedIn profile to your Facebook profile, because there are pitfalls in doing so.
So the question was, thank you. So the question was, just tell me if I got this right. What are my views on linking your LinkedIn profile to your Facebook profile? In what way? Okay. So LinkedIn currently allows you to connect to Twitter. So you can post via Twitter. As far as I'm aware, but they are changing stuff every day, you can't directly connect your Facebook profile to LinkedIn. I would view those two things as completely separate. Okay? LinkedIn is your business-facing persona. Okay? Facebook is your personal-facing persona. Having said that, if you are in business, you do need a Facebook page, and you should be using Facebook to proactively generate business. But it boils down to the question, where's your target audience? My target audience is on LinkedIn. They are actually on Facebook, but when I engage with them, I want them to be in a business frame of mind. So I would keep those two things, separately. But different marketing tools for different kinds of audience, but both are very important marketing tools. Thank you. Any other questions at all? We've started the ball rolling now. Must be one more question.
I'm constantly being asked to go to the premiere.
Okay.
Is that
Okay, thank you. Great question. So, question here at the front was, should I pay for a premium account on LinkedIn? Hands up if you have a premium account. Okay. Hands up if you have a free account. Okay, so the majority of people. I changed my message probably in the last 12 months, because I used to say, you can pretty much do everything you want on LinkedIn with a free account. But they are starting to change that now. One of the main benefits of having a paid account is who's viewed your profile. Now, you can see a certain amount of people that have viewed your profile on a free account, but you're going to come unstuck. You won't see everybody that's viewed your profile. Now, why is that important? Well, if somebody's viewed your profile, they've expressed an interest in you, particularly if you've not gone out and connected to them. They found you through a search engine. Okay? I'm not suggesting you connect directly back to them, but what you might want to do is to start to look at their profile, maybe like a couple of pieces of their content, which may encourage them to engage with you if they choose to do that. So that's one of the benefits. One of the hidden benefits, which some of you may or may not have experienced, if I send you out of the room today and you all go crazy on LinkedIn, okay, and you start connecting with people left, right, and center. So suddenly you've gone from 3 connections a week to 300 connections a week, connection requests. LinkedIn is going to say, no, I'm not having that. They're going to stop you because it's what's called unusual activity. So what that means is, if you went out of the room today and wanted to connect with 300 people this week, it's going to probably stop you somewhere closer to your 3 a week, and you have to build that up over a longer period of time. If you pay for a premium account, that disappears. Okay? I use some automation on LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is about one-to-one connections, but I do use some automation, and it's very important for that kind of activity on LinkedIn, which is one of the ways to build not just any contacts, but the right kind of contacts in a shorter space of time. So my advice is, yes, it is worth having a premium account. I'm not suggesting you go out and buy a premium account. What I would recommend you actually do is, if you go through LinkedIn's Help Center and ask to have a trial for 30 days, then they'll probably give you a trial. They certainly did to me, and you can experience and then decide if it's for you or not. I've just got the time thing at the back, so we're out of time. I am going to hang around at the back for a few minutes, so if anyone would like to collect a business card or come and talk to me at the back and ask me a question, that would be great. And thank you very, very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Just come off stage at Excel London at the Accountex conference. I've been talking about LinkedIn for finance professionals, what you need to know and why it matters. Had a really engaged audience, lots of great questions, and I hope to be back again next year.